Art from ancient Greece is often called classical art. This is a reference to the fact that the art was not only beautiful and of high quality, but it came from a golden age in the past and was passed down to us today. Greek art was an inspiration for the Renaissance. I will now be talking to you about three major pieces: the architecture, the art, and the sculptures that ancient Greece had produced: the Acropolis, the Siren, and the Venus de Milo. Humans have inhabited the limestone slopes of what became the Acropolis for centuries. They were likely drawn to the water from its natural springs. There is evidence of habitation in the area dating back to the Neolithic period between 4000 and 3200 BCE. The term the Acropolis comes from the Greek words akron, which means the highest point or extremity. So Acropolis can be taken to mean high city, city on the extremity, or city in the air. Greece has many other acropolis, but the term most often refers to the Acropolis of Athens. The Parthenon is the most popular building in the Acropolis, but there are several others on site. These include the Cretheon, the Propylaea, and the Temple of Athena Nike. Other structures such as the Theater of Dionysus and the Odeon of Herodotus Atticus are also on the area, although they are no longer in good shape. The Acropolis had suffered extensive damage during the Marian War. The Parthenon was used to store gunpowder during this time, and it was hit by a cannonball when the Venetians laid siege to the area in 1687. The Turks had also demolished the Temple of Athena Nike to create space for a cannon battery. Construction of the Propylaea began in 437 BC, but it was cut off in 432 BC, even though the structure was still not finished. The Propylaea is made of white Pentatonic marble and structural iron, the gray Elusian marble of for accents. Its columns reflect the proportions of the Parthenon's columns. This temple to Athena was built in 447 BC and completed 9 years after. Although it took another 6 years to decorate the structure, it was constructed during the time the Athenian Empire was at its most powerful. And it symbolizes not only Athenian democracy, but also the entire ancient Greece. Christians converted the temples of the Acropolis into churches in the 6th century, with the Parthenon becoming a church that was dedicated to the Virgin Mary. It then became known as the Church of the Partheus Maria when the Ottomans conquered the city in 1460s. The Parthenon was transformed into a mosque. Thomas Bruce, 7th Earl of Elgin, removed several sculptures known as the Elgin Marbles from the Parthenon from 1800 to 1803. Sculptures were later sold to the British Museum in London. The Greek government has been trying to get the sculptures returned to Greece ever since. Okay, now for one more interesting. Off the Bulgarian coast, just over a mile beneath the surface of the Black Sea, archaeologists have discovered what they believe is the world's oldest intact shipwreck. I know what you're wondering. What's this going to have to do with art? Just keep on listening. Measuring some 75 feet long, the ship is thought to be the ancient Greek trading vessel. With its mast still standing and its rudders and rowing benches still in place, it has lain undisturbed on the ocean floor for more than 2,400 years. Long and important trade route between Europe and Asia, the Black Sea was particularly so in the ancient world. When Greek ships sailed from the Mediterranean carrying goods to its many colonies lining the Black Sea coast, an Anglo-Bulgarian team from the Black Sea Martin Mean Archaeology Project, MAP, discovered the intact shipwreck as part of its 3-year mission to explore the Black Sea's depths and understand prehistoric sea level changes that still have an impact today. Using sonar as well as deep sea diving robots, the team has turned up more than 60 wrecks, including Roman trading ships and a Cossack trading fleet dating to the 17th century. There are ships down there that have never been seen apart from in murals and paintings and in books, and these are the first time they have been seen since they were afloat, the CEO of the Black Sea MAP told The Guardian. One of the famous examples is the Siren Face. Now held in the British Museum, it dates around to 480 BC. It shows the Homeric hero Odysseus strapped to the mast of his ship as it sailed past the Sirens, the sea nymphs who, according to Greek mythology, were said to lure sailors onto the rocks with their bewitching songs. The ship has remained so well preserved because of the waters around it are anoxic or completely devoid of oxygen. Otherwise, like most ancient shipwrecks, it would have been eroded or damaged by marine animals and bacteria over centuries on the ocean floor. Back to the sirens. The sirens of ancient Greece mythology were bird women who enchanted singing lured sailors off course, causing shipwreck and disaster. In Book 12 of Homer's Odyssey, the hero Odysseus took the advice of the sorceress Circe and blocked the ears of his crew with a wax so they could row undisturbed. This allowed them to safely navigate around the rocky island guarded by the sirens. Odysseus wished to hear their magical songs, though, and had tied himself to the mast so they would not be tempted to steer in the wrong direction. This vase is painted with a famous scene and is known as the Siren Vase. It is a wide-necked vessel thought to have been used for serving wine. It is used to be in a famous collection of antiques, paintings, and drawings assembled by the brother of Napoleon Bonaparte, Lucien Bonaparte, and Prince of Canino. For much of the world, the mystery of the Venus de Milo lies in her missing arms, but there's much more to this iconic statue than just a couple of absent appendages. Venus de Milo's title is a bit misleading. It's popularly believed that this is a Grecian statue depicts the Greek goddess of love and beauty, who was often rendered half naked. However, the Greeks would have called this deity Aphrodite. Nonetheless, the Roman-inspired Venus de Milo caught on. She's named in part for where she was discovered. On April 8, 1820, a farmer named Yorgos Kentrotas came across the statue in pieces within the ruins of an ancient city on the island of Milos, formerly known as Melos. Alexandros of Antioch is credited with her creation. A sculptor of the Hellenistic period, Alexandros is believed to have carved this masterpiece between 130 and 100 BCE. The inscription on the plinth, the slab on which the statue rested, that identified him as Venus de Milo's creator was lost nearly 200 years ago. She might not be Venus. Some have suggested that the sculpture is not an Aphrodite Venus, but an Amphitrite, the sea goddess who was particularly adored on Milos. Still others have proposed she's Victory or perhaps a prostitute, with her arms long missing. Would-be context clues have been lost for centuries. A spear could have meant one thing, a spool or thread another. If she held an apple, as some reports claim, it could mean she was an Aphrodite, holding the award given to her by Paris before the Trojan War began. To this day, it's a matter of passionate debate. She became a gift to the King of France. When Kentrotas called upon a French naval officer to help him unearth the spectacular sculpture, he began a chain of events that would eventually lead to the Marquise de Riviera presenting Venus de Milo to Louis V. In turn, the ruler gave the statue to the Louvre, where it is on display to this very day. The loss of her limbs is the fault of the French. Kentrotas did find fragments of an arm and a hand when he uncovered the statue in the ruins, but as Venus de Milo was being reassembled, those arms were discarded for having a rougher appearance. Modern art historians believe that a variation of finish does not mean those arms did not belong to Venus, but both the arms of the original plinth have been lost since the piece moved to Paris in the 1820. Venus de Milo was meant to make up for a national embarrassment. During his conquest, Napoleon Bonaparte had plundered one of the finest examples of Greek sculpture, Venus de Medici, from Italy in 1815. The French government returned that beloved sculpture, but in 1820, France embraced the chance to fill the hole its absence left with the French culture and national pride, as Venus de Milo was promoted as being even greater than Venus de Medici. Upon her Louvre gift, the ploy worked, and the piece was met with almost universal praise from artists and critics. Today, she's admired for her imperfection. The missing arms of Venus de Milo have been so much more than the source of numerous art historian lectures, debates, and essays. Their absence has also been an accidental invitation to the world to imagine how they might have been positioned, what they may hold, and who this would make her. Unexpectedly, her missing arms are what lend the statue her beauty. In 2015, The Guardian's Jonathan Jones explained the piece appeals thusly: the Venus de Milo is an accidental surrealist masterpiece. Her lack of arms makes her strange and dreamlike. She is perfect but imperfect, beautiful but broken. The body as a ruin. That sense of enigmatic Incompleteness has transformed an ancient work of art into a modern one.